Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. I'm tickled to bring to you the staff of the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. They're going to bring us something from their collection that we have not seen before. And we have new people on our side of the screen. So Caleb and team, I'm turning it over to you to take the whole hour. Show us what you have.
All right. Well, welcome everybody, the new and returning. My name is Caleb. I'm the collections manager here at the Fort Worth Museum of Science History. I apologize for the lighting. We are still working on that. This is Bethany. She's, oh, I actually don't know your drop title.
It's changed like 3 times in the last, actually it's changed 4 times in the last 3 years. So fair. I do public programming and special audience programming here at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. So I work for education and outreach.
Yes. And then the two people you will see
kind of floating around
behind me. One is Leanne Naylor, our director of history and archives. They cannot see you, Leanne. I apologize. She's waving at y'all, but you can't see. And then the other person is Kirsty Cressman, who's our collections technician here. And she is busy working on installing and making sure that everything that we've put up is safely secured. And in the realm of that, what we're bringing you today is a special inside look of our newest exhibit that we're putting up right now as we talk, called Discovering Treatments, the Path to Modern Medicine.
Oh.
So a look at a lot of our different medical items that we have in our collection. So we're really excited about it, bringing out a couple of older things that anyone who's visited the museum in the past might remember, but as well as some new things that we haven't gotten to showcase in a while. And so Bethany will go around with the phone so that you can see everything that I'm talking about. I will stay here so that you can hear me and everything. So yeah, let's see.
What museum? Fort Worth
The Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. For who was asking. So I think we'll start with dentistry.
Mind if I go? I'm
Sure.
not gonna touch anything.
I know, I trust you.
Well, that's good.
Yes. Okay, so Bethany is going to get a little bit closer to these items. You can see one right behind me right now. That is a dentist cabinet. But if you want to look at Bethany's screen, you're going to see it a little bit clearer. So that is a cabinet dating to around the 1900s, 1920 or so. That was used by a local dentist here. I'm not entirely sure where, but we do know it is from here. It was made in Ohio and has all these really wonderful drawers and things like it. We had not gotten it out really until we got here, and as we were cleaning it, we discovered that there was still teeth and dentures inside of it.
I'm trying to mute it.
Yeah, so it's been used. But it was on display at the museum prior to this. So for my time, the museum used to have period rooms. And one of them was a dental office, and this was in there.
Thank you.
So that's what we're pretty sure the teeth are from and everything that we found, which was a fun day of us reaching in and finding things. Kirsty was an excellent sport, cleaning it all out and getting everything and wrapping it all up. So we'll take those back to our collection with us. And
Caleb, those hinges are gorgeous.
Yes, aren't they?
Can you give us a close-up?
Yes,
that's artwork. That's beautiful. You don't see hinges like that except in expensive places like galleries. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome. Kirsty, do you want to show them the sliding door?
Oh, yeah.
So they're looking at
These all come out.
those rotate.
And then what you also can do is after you've rotated everything back to the side, this actually comes down
We can't hear her.
Okay, so basically they rotate inside in and out, but then there's that screen that protects it as well, which is a very lovely piece of craftsmanship.
That's like a roll top desk.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Oh, yeah.
beautiful. Well, wouldn't that be crazy to have to clean in between patients nowadays?
Oh,
kidding.
yes.
So Caleb, do you have also on display some sort of dentistry tools from that time period?
Not quite from that time period. We do have some tools that come a little bit later that
Okay.
you will probably be familiar with. They are over in another cabinet.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. We do have the drill. I forgot about the drill. Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
my.
Yes.
we have this foot treadle drill.
Metal drill.
Yes. So it works a lot like a sewing machine or a
Oh,
potter's table where you have a pump and it spins the wheel. And normally there would be a string wrapped around the wheel and going up to that top part that Bethany showed you a second ago. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you gotta be kind of, you gotta do it consistently, Kirsty, for it to spin.
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, so the man who invented it, his name escapes me. He was an American and he got the idea from watching his mother either sewing or using a potter's wheel, and thought, oh, I can apply that to making a drill as well. And so that helps dentists be able to do much more finer work than they were able to in the past, because they could get in there and do things with it. And then right next to it, in between the two, is a dental chair. It's also around the same time period, late 1800s, early 1900s. Have we decided if it can lean back yet or not?
It can.
good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Patrick, we're on with the
Sorry I'm late.
Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, and they're showing us some medical equipment from the past.
My doctor uses now.
You need to find a new doctor. So yes, this is.
Yes, you get to get.
So
Look at
yes,
that comfortable footrest that's got built into it.
yeah, is that a footrest on it?
Because once it goes back.
It does come out like that? Okay.
Yeah.
But there would have been another piece.
Like stirrups. Okay. But we do not have, but we do not have the stirrups, I don't think. For it. So yes.
The handles for them to grab onto when they're screaming.
Yeah. Yeah, so laughing gas comes around in the 1860s or so is when it's first developed and used. But of course, it takes quite a while for that to become common practice and everything. So there was probably a few teeth pullings done in that chair without any sort of help. Yeah, except for alcohol. Maybe take a swig of whiskey. But that's the least of the worries. You gotta roll with it.
So Caleb,
Yes, Don.
this is just a side note, and you may or may not know anything. In some of the earlier times, barbers were dentists also.
Yes.
Do you have anything that shows that in your exhibit?
We do not, off the top of my head, but yes, as Don said, they were. A lot of times if towns didn't have doctors or dentists, barbers had the steadiest hands because they had to shave. And
Yeah.
so that's where people go to. We don't have anything that shows that part of it, but that's a very important part, especially in Western United States history.
Okay, thank you.
I was told that that's why barber poles have red in them, because they did doctoring and dentistry.
Yes, I've heard that too. Bethany, if we want to look at these little bit smaller instruments. So these that Bethany's about to show you, a lot of you will probably be more familiar with because they do date to a little bit more modern times. So in the back left there, you have teeth puller, the little tube one, that's to help press in fillings. So if you press down on that bottom part of it, there's a little bit of a plastic piece that comes out. And then to the right of those, Bethany, on the purple thing, those are also used to help press in fillings as well, but it's just not as automated. So again, those are very standard. They look like what you would see in a dentist's office today. Maybe not the teeth puller, okay. Okay,
They
I guess
still do.
I just close my eyes whenever that comes to it. And then the green thing down there, those are capsules that hold little silver fillings inside of them. So if you were to open them up, they would have the silver and everything. They've got a nice little weight to them. So that's just some of our smaller dental equipment that we have. So that's one section of the exhibit. And the next one,
Start back here, you want to start that?
let's start up there. So all along the wall to my right,
Where am I starting?
we'll start with the bowl. We have some cases with single objects in them, but then we also have cabinets to hold our smaller items that people can pull out and look at. So we'll see that in a second. Can anyone, okay, Bethany wants me to know if any of y'all can guess what this bowl is used for.
Spit tray.
Big tray, yeah.
Nope.
No,
Not
that's my guess. Huh.
I thought the neck would fit into that opening.
Well, that means the neck could fit in, but it may be for something else.
Yeah. So you're right in that a fluid does go in there. So that's a bloodletting bowl.
Bloodletting
Oh,
bowl.
man.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
blood
So
bowl.
the practice of bloodletting comes from really all the way back to ancient Rome, ancient Greece, with the idea of the four humors and that everybody has these liquids inside of them that need to be balanced for them to be healthy. And so draining blood was a common practice for helping to balance them. And that goes all the way up until the 1900s or so. That's still a common practice. And so this bowl dates to around 1900, 1910, I want to say. And they're still draining blood inside of it. But it's a beautiful looking bowl, very ornament, very decorated, well decorated, but yep, that's what it was used for.
Well, I think we're all shocked because every one of us said a spit bowl.
Well, I was thinking that leeches were doing most of the blood.
Oh yeah,
sucking.
so leeches are another way that they would drain blood for sure.
Mhm.
This one is more for incisions because they don't have the leeches to have the blood go into.
Okay.
So the next cabinet that we have is some of our medical texts and books that we have in our collection. So what you're seeing right now is a copy of something called the Edwin Smith Papyrus. It's one of the earliest medical written records that we have. And this one's important because it's one of the first ones that uses actual observances of the human body, not just magic, which is what a lot of times you get with ancient sources. So there's actually observations of like how the human body functions and how it looks and treatments for that. So that's really cool that we have that. And then Bethany, why don't you open up the top right cabinet? So in here, we have a pamphlet on syphilis published by a man named Dr. Ransom. He was a very prominent African-American doctor here in Fort Worth around the 1920s, 30s, I want to say. And this is a pamphlet published by him specifically for the African community to help promote that. So just a little bit of local history here as well to show.
I noticed that's Fort Worth Negro Hospital. And
Yes.
I am not shocked, but I am surprised that there was even a hospital for the Negro at that time because they were so separated.
Yes, absolutely. And this is just a little plug. If y'all have any questions or want to know more about African-American history here in Fort Worth, the Lenora Rolla Museum here in Fort Worth deals with all of that. And it is very well done. The lady who runs it is very nice and very well informed, knows much more than me.
Where is that? Where is that museum, Caleb?
South side, I don't know exactly. I've only been there once before, and I
Okay.
wasn't the one driving, unfortunately.
Okay, that's all right.
So yes, and then yes, below that one, we have a letter from the Civil War. Is a Confederate surgeon giving orders for people for them to establish a separate ambulance corps in the Army. So during the Civil War, both the North and the South established a set group of people for medical personnel, because they found that using civilians on the battlefield to transport injured away, a lot of times the injured just remained on the battlefield because the civilians would run away. And so that's where you get things like mobile armor, the MASH units are the things that would eventually become MASH units. So this is just a little piece of that, establishing that and showing that piece of medical history. So yeah, that's dates from like 1864, Confederate side. So that's that one, and there are other books in there, but I think those are the highlights for me. Are you guys, do you want to show the bottom one too? These are just a couple of other books. One shows a depiction of one of the first blood transfusions in 1600. And the other one is talking about a man named Robert Koch and another one named Louis Pasteur, who are both really important when it comes to
Microbiology.
exactly, yes. And that's really, microbiology is really where we get the understanding of our modern medicine and things like that. So showing that. Yep, and then moving on from there, we have two microscopes. Now, the one on y'all's left that you're looking at is probably very familiar to most of you. Yes. The one on the right, however, dates to about 1862 and would have been one of the first modern microscopes that was available for purchase. You can see actually on that case behind it, the green one. I don't know if Bethany can get close enough for it, but it costs $2.50. Yeah, it's at the very bottom. I don't know if they'll be able to see it or not. So yes. I have no idea what that translates to in this time, but probably a pretty penny, as they would say, I would imagine.
Amazing.
When cheese was 10 cents a pound.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of cheese you could get for $10 or $2.50.
That's right.
Yeah. What?
And welcome, Pat Smith. We're at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. Just wanted to catch you up.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions or things you'd like to see on this one before we move on? No? All right. And Bethany, move Kirsty out of the way. This one. This next drawer. That's true. Yeah, you can see Kirsty working. So this next drawer houses a lot of our different medical tools and instruments that we have. So the one you can see Kirsty working on right now, since the acrylic is moved, one is a stethoscope, and the other one is called an oscilloscope? Phonoscope, which is just a little bit higher powered stethoscope. The stethoscopes there dates around turn of the century as well, but just a little bit different looking head on it than you're probably, at least I'm used to seeing.
If there's anything in the kitchen that needs to be thrown out, just put it in the bag and I'll get it out. Right?
So above that, in the top of the case, the very top, we have a medical bag from the Civil War as well, dating to around 1862, 1863. Unfortunately, we can't, there's not a good way to display it open so you can see inside of it, but there's just these metal squares that act as sections for holding medicine and tools and things like that. But this is probably one of my favorite pieces that we have, just because of when it dates to and the history it's probably seen.
So do you guys treat that in order to keep it from degrading?
Preserve
Treat
it.
it with, conserve it?
So we could, that is typically when we bring in a conservator specifically to look at that and manage that. Every now and then we'll do little things that we know we can control and have the expertise to do. And in theory, yes, a lot of leather things like that, we would need to treat and stuff like that. But that's also why we regulate humidity and temperature and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just to give it a longer life sense. So yeah. Below the medical case, we have a book that's just a catalog of all different types of instruments you could buy from this one company. So this one is showing bed racks for broken legs and arms and all sorts of things in it. And then next to it, we have a blood pressure machine that's portable, that dates to around 1930 or so.
Go ahead, say the big word.
Oh, yeah. Bethany, what's the big word? Hemoglobiner?
Sphygmomanometer.
Yeah. Martha's got that one down. Say it again, Martha.
Sphygmomanometer.
Sphygmomanometer.
SV. Sphygmo.
Sphygmo. Okay. Manometer. That just makes me think of the, yeah, that's what that means. They both went phenomena.
Phenomena.
So yes, that's that. Below it, we have a mortar and pestle that both date around 1700s. So a little bit older than that. The thing weighs a ton, is incredibly heavy, is solid as a rock because it is a rock. It's a rock, it is. It is solid as a rock. So yeah. And then some of the other tools, Bethany, pull open the top lowercase. Yes, there you go. I have to remember what all is in each case. So these are some of our little smaller instruments. Starting on y'all's left, that is a syringe and a syringe opener. So syringes would come individually made, and you'd have to use a point to open them and then use
You
them.
only see him.
To the right of that, we have a couple of bloodletting tools. So the smaller one down there is called a phleem, and it's kind of spring loaded so that you would put it up there and click it and it slash you real fast. The other one is not spring loaded. So those are just 3 different things to make different sized incisions, typically on your arm, to then let blood drain out.
No kidding.
Yeah. The small little stick there, that's actually from Rome. Dates anywhere from like 200 BC to 300 AD, which is a huge time range, I know. But that's was used for a couple of purposes. One, for probing, so pressing and sticking into things to find if something stuck in there. But then to also clean out earwax. So that little scoop at the end there can be used to scoop it out.
Some things have not changed in 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Just pull a cotton swab on that, you get a Q-tip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If anybody asks if it can still be used, we're like, you can if you want to stick a piece of rusted bronze in your ear. Below that is a little tiny measuring cup. What's interesting about that is that it doesn't actually tell you what size of measuring cup it is. I guess you just have to know. But it's foldable, and so it has like a few little pouches that you can use for it. And then to the right of it is a trepanning tool. Now don't ask me what trepanning, no, that's not trepanning. It's yes, we were talking about trepanning, which is when you poke a trepanning.
Yeah.
You poke a hole to drain fluid from your brain. Trephine instrument. That's what I was thinking of. Yes, trephine is something different. So yeah, that's some of our smaller items. Bethany, what's in to the right above? Yeah, yes, that one. Oh yes, this one's cool. When Bethany shows it. I believe this is also, oh, it's a device that helps you see inside a person, but those candlesticks are there to give it light. So this one dates back to like the 1860s, before you have any electricity or anything like that. Did you just do something?
Is she okay?
Is your phone okay?
No, my phone's fine.
Okay,
I'm more worried about this.
we're good? Okay, we're all good.
Okay.
So how does that even work?
So you would light the candle, put it on one end, just to have that light a little bit closer, and then you have your stick thing and you use it to look down in, and it lights up as best you can, and you hope that you don't catch the other person's hair on fire.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yep. So I thought that was really cool, just like the idea that they needed light, but the only thing they could use was a candle, and so just gonna hold an open flame up next to a person you're trying to diagnose with it.
I guess that gave them the opportunity to use one hand for the instrument that held the candle. So you could
Yes.
use the other hand for doing manipulations.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, very cool, and I think it's cool that we still have the candles and everything with it. So yeah, we can close the drawer now. Trying to think. I think we're good to move on. Yeah.
By the way, Bethany's a really good pointer.
Okay. Yeah, keep looking at them. Oh yeah, these medical tools. So this is kind of just like a, excuse me, a common surgeon's packet of things that you would find. Yeah, like a travel case for any at-home visitations or something like that. You can't see them very well because the flaps are down right now, but you have things like scalpels, scissors. Oh yeah, there we go. Kirsty's got gloves for them to have. And the one above it is the exact same thing. It's just folded up so you can see what it looks like folded and unfolded. I believe is that wooden or bone, Kirsty? That, yes. Okay. That's okay. Don't, okay. So yeah, just a little
It's pretty.
surgeon tag. Yes, I love the working on the one above it, although it's down for you guys. Bethany's phone is at a different angle than I'm used to seeing it at.
Is it upside down?
Yes. No, now we just see Kirsty's. There we go.
Better?
Yeah, there we go. Now I'm seeing it the way I'm used to seeing it. So yeah, that's that. Do we want to open the bottom one? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot what all was in that one. We have so many in here that
How fun.
track of them all. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have an ear probe and a package of syringes things. Kirsty might be able to explain the syringe thing a little bit better. Kirsty, you'll have to come over here to explain it though.
For the blue one?
Yes.
Okay. So in the blue box that Bethany is currently at, you would have those different pipes and everything. They would actually screw on to the top part of the box, and that would be where it would be stored. But you would take that apart, and it was more of like a pump system. So all of the tan, those are your piping that the liquid, or if it was a blood infusion, that's what it would go through. And there's a tan part that kind of has a silver syringe at the top. That would be kind of your punch button that would go through there. So it's a box of tools.
Yes.
It's interesting that it's called the favorite family syringe.
Yes.
I wonder if there was a secondary one or a not favorite.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 families agree that's their favorite one.
That's right.
And made in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
By Williams and Co. I wonder if that has to do with Williams and Dickies at all.
You never know.
Never know. So yeah, that's that one. I think we're good to move on. We're getting close to my favorite cabinet. We have one more stop before then.
Oh, good.
So the next little piece that Bethany is showing you right now, that is a sterilizer. So of course the advent or the acceptance of the idea of sterilizing tools before you operating things comes around in the turn of the century, 1900s or so, a little bit later here in the US because our doctors were stubborn and didn't believe that we needed to keep things clean. So, but this is from the US and it's what they would use for it. They would heat up water in it and set your tools on the silver tray there. And then you can't really see it, but that hole you see in the top is like a teapot. So it would whistle probably whenever the water was nice and
Now that's interesting.
yes, it has a little side there on the side that lets it pump up and down easily.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
The early autoclave.
yeah,
That's impressive. And that's
Yeah.
probably porcelain.
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
So it keeps it nice and insulated. You can touch it like a teapot. Yes, very nice. All right, I think we are good to move on. Lee is working on some things. We can peek over her shoulder real fast.
Good morning, Lee.
So this is some of our medicine drugs that we have still in our collection. Again, all from around the 1900s or so. A lot of them come from a man named Dr. Coleman, who had a pharmacy down in Granbury and then later Southlake, I believe, that we got a lot of the stuff in. So that's some quinine hydrochloride, which I believe was used to treat malaria.
mhm,
Yeah, malaria in it.
That sounds right.
Yes. Next to it, we have some blood some black south like face cream and stuff like that. And one of the most interesting parts about this time in medical history is that this is when you kind of get the idea of the snake oil salesman
yeah,
and other companies who are putting in really whatever they want to into these things and saying that they do whatever they want. So like these blood and liver tonic pills that you're looking at,
yeah.
they say there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I have no idea what's in it. Like,
Martha, I'm going to leave.
Okay, Nancy.
Okay, bye, Nancy.
Bye-bye,
hi,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Not feeling good.
Oh, dear.
Okay,
Take care.
so, Caleb, interesting fact, I work for a medical company
Oh,
that
really?
was started in the late 1800s called Abbott
Oh.
Laboratories. And
Okay.
they made things like you're showing, and some of them were literally were, things that were unscientifically proven.
Yes.
So it wasn't until the early 1920s, 1930s that the government started actually regulating some of this stuff.
Yes, that's actually right. And so to that point, I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but on that tin can next to you, it has a saying, it says that it's guaranteed underneath the Food and Drug Act of 1906.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
So that's one of the first kind of legislation that gets passed to protect consumers and things like that.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no real teeth to it. And so companies still kept doing whatever they wanted to, but they would just put guaranteed underneath the Food and Drug Act as a form of like, we're good, but really they weren't. And to your point, Don, yeah, it wasn't until the 1920s and 30s that the government cracked down on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next to that is some celery extract. So what's really fascinating and just the way that things continue, there were certain buzzwords for marketing things like drugs. And so like we have like all natural today or organic. And so one was celery. For whatever reason, people just thought celery was the cure-all drug. That was really big. And then the other thing, Bethany, if you want to show them that card that's up there, the one on the right. Yes, there you go. Was the use of the word Indian. So you'll see a lot of marketing things. So this one says use Sparks Indian cough syrup. And there were other companies that would create like whole backstories about how they talked to this one Native American who gave them this recipe and yada, yada, yada as a form of marketing tool for it, which is really funny. And the fact that we still do things like that today too.
Yeah.
The other one, Bethany, if you want to go on the other side, marketing thing we have, it's for Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound. And Lydia Pinkham, her face is not on this one. She was probably one of the first, like, all encompassing, all, like, everyone in the US knew what she looked like, because she was one of the first, like, faces to be marketed on a mass marketing campaign. So if you were to go back to like 1890s, 1900s and say the name Lydia Pinkham, most people are going to know exactly who you're talking about because she was so famous from having her face painted on, marketed like that.
Kind of like the Gerber baby.
Exactly like the Gerber baby. Yes.
My goodness. You had a little bit ago that colchicum powder.
Yes.
About 2 minutes ago, and I looked that word up. And it says it's an anti-inflammatory used for gout, recurrent pericarditis, and Mediterranean fever. It's good.
Wow. Wow. It cures everything.
Yeah, that can cures all of that.
Yep. If any of y'all ever get Mediterranean fever, you know
That's right. Mediterranean fever is bad.
Another cool one, that definitely the box in between the two advertising cards. So this box is from the 1800s or so. Unfortunately, you can't see it very well, but each of those little vials is numbered, and then on top there's a corresponding number to them telling you what's in them. And there's things like mercury, opium, cyanide.
Wow.
Wow.
Also,
You know,
say lead.
I really miss my mercury pills.
Yeah. So just all sorts of just crazy things.
I remember playing with mercury when we break a thermometer.
Oh yeah, we did
Playing
too.
with the mercury
That
is
was-
dialed.
That was
Yes.
fun.
It was fun, wasn't it, Yetta?
The same thing happened to me in my 8th grade science class,
Yeah.
but they had to call the hazmat people to come in and like burn all this stuff that the mercury had gotten on, and people lost like their homework, and
Oh no.
it was a really funny day.
I bet.
Somebody
Yeah,
learned.
back in the day when we had real science experiments with real chemicals and materials.
Yeah.
The mercury ate my homework, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
That's a new one.
That is a new one, Yetta.
No joke, there were kids who came into my math class afterwards and had to tell my math teacher that they did not have their homework because it got burned from mercury.
Yeah.
Man. Oh.
Oh, so yeah, so that was a crazy thing.
Hey.
Let's go above it. Those things. Here's just some more examples of bottles and things like that. My favorite one is the orange one in there. I don't know if you can read it or not, but it's a Hamlin's Wizard Oil Liniment.
Wizard oil. My gosh. I'm gonna have a wizard to take to fill up the bottle.
Yeah, right. Well, not a lot, because 65% of that bottle is just alcohol, according to it.
Well, maybe that came out of the wizards also.
Yeah, that's true. It's a hard life being a wizard, you know?
Yeah, it's a hard life.
Oh,
And it was
has
probably
ammonia?
40 cents.
Yeah, exactly. If even that. Yeah, right next to it is a swamp root, which was a diuretic.
Yes. Oh, cool.
Lovely. So just empty it all out.
Swamp root. Yeah.
Yeek.
Yes. And then we have some other admarine, which I'm not entirely sure what that is. Contains, according to Bethany, it contains iron and ammonia. Woo. Oh, and phosphoric acid.
Oh, well,
God.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a burn a hole.
Oh, that's also a diuretic. So you would also.
Yeah, I guess that would probably direct your stomach right out from you.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's a liniment antiseptic thing. So a little bit healthier. Yes, only for external use. So that's a little bit better than chugging phosphoric acid.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How fun.
Yes. And then real fast, because I think we're maybe running out of time a bit. Bethany, you want to do, we have our very large, no, okay, that's a pill mold right there. Yes, I was gonna switch over to these ones, these really big ones. So here along this wall, we have 3 different blown up anatomical charts of the Venus system. The one on the far left, Bethany, that dates from like 1763 that we found. And really just the idea of this is just to see how our understanding of this one system and how we've drawn it has changed. So we have 1763, 1920, and then 2018. And the one from 1920 is actually an object we have in our collection. We've just blown it up a little bit and done some photoshopping to make it clearer. But I actually like it. Bethany, if you can zoom in on the little, the rip in it that you can see. So there's a rip in it that looks like it's on the wall, but really it's because that actual artifact has a rip in it, which I think is really cool just to like see like, oh, this is like an actual artifact type thing.
Okay.
That's just because I'm a nerd when it comes to artifacts and things like that. But yeah, so we've zoomed in on those different pieces to look at the different veins to make them more visible for people. So yes,
Caleb, before you go, after you
Yes.
finish showing us what you want to show us, tell about your mission. We talked about that earlier, and I think people would love to know what the mission is.
Yes, so I'm not gonna be able to quote the mission entirely, but most museums and collections in general have a mission to kind of give us direction in terms of what we're trying to educate people about and what we'll collect. So our mission specifically is typically to teach people and get items related to Texas and the Southwest. So a lot of times that's where, if we're bringing in anything, that's what we look at first, if it fits inside of that scope. So if any of y'all ever think about wanting to donate to an institution or something like that, check and see what the mission is first. That's going to be one of the first things they think about. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors I was telling Martha about in terms of whether or not an institution will actually accept your donation or bring in an object. But most museums are going to have a mission statement.
All machines should.
All museums really should.
Yeah.
And there should be
Thank you.
public, you should just be able to find it on their website. So they'll have their mission statement and sometimes their vision statement.
And sometimes their collections
sometimes,
policy
yeah.
too, in terms of that.
So if I had something from Iowa, you wouldn't necessarily want it. But if I had the same item that was originated in Texas, that would be of more interest.
Possibly now, but because you lived in Texas and you've used it in Texas, then that might fit in.
Okay.
There's also been, obviously more modern things we're not as interested in right now because there's still a lot of them out there, and we want to keep things a little bit more, what, for lack of a better word, endangered almost of
It
losing.
also they take into consideration like spacing, like what do we have space for? If we have excessive of them already, then they're less likely to take it if we have a whole bunch of them.
Good to know.
Or there's like if it's something that we just don't have, like they'd be like, oh, that'd be great to have, but we just don't have somewhere to store it and care for it, then they think, well, that's something we probably wouldn't take
Yes.
either. So
That's a lot of times the problems you get with any digital sort of artifacts, because there's a whole other thing with them. But then a lot of times too, they have to go to the board to be approved as well, since they're kind of oversight for it. And we're just not taking things in willy-nilly or throwing those things away willy-nilly as well. So yeah.
I already asked him if he'd take all of my stuff when I die, and he said no.
Yeah.
That's how
I
we
would think I would think about it, Martha, but most likely not.
not all.
The sex change is a remedy for freckles.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do we have a remedy for freckles?
Oh, I think the closest thing we had for like, I don't think we had anything for,
No,
for dermatology.
Yeah, we didn't have anything dermatology, unfortunately.
Well, you guys always pique my interest and you always show us something I've never seen before.
Yes, this is very good.
Yeah.
Really appreciative.
Thank you. We're very excited about it and are very proud of how it's all coming together. We are,
It's my favorite exhibit.
yes, Bethany is a huge medical history fan, and so she's very
I was
excited.
very excited about this one.
Yes. We are in the closing stages of it. Hopefully we'll have it all done very soon.
Good. Well, just for anybody's information, these folks are going to do this again at 11:30 and at 1:30. And then on Monday, we're doing Nia, our chair yoga at 10:30, 11:30, and 1:30. We really appreciate y'all from the Fort Worth Museum. Thank you so much.
Yes, we
Thank
love
you.
having y'all talking about it, and
Thanks,
we love
Caleb.
showing off our
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you very much.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Happy
Bye.
weekend.
Bye. Yeah, have a
Bye.
good
Happy Friday,
weekend.
guys.
Everybody have a good day.
You too. Bye, Mike. Bye, Patrick.